You know, your democracy has actually become like the British monarchy. It's just an empty tradition. You know, you go out to vote the same way that British people will go out and line the streets just to watch the king pass by on a horse and carriage. It's just a nod to the lore and heritage of your society. It's a ritual that has no real significance beyond the psychological and the emotional. It's a collective, society-wide, self-soothing gesture. America is a corporate authoritarian system cosplaying as a democracy. But nobody in the world thinks that your democracy exists except for you. Because we know all too well what your democracy looks like when you export it to us. And you have the same one that you sent us, which means that you don't have one either. Look, you are not constituents of politicians, you're constituents of companies, and you need to organize yourselves along these lines. Democratize private sector power. At some point, your activism and your strategy has to actually be informed by the real existing power dynamics in your society, not just by the official version of the power structure that they taught you in civics class.
All right, people. How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters? Welcome to the Brews at 10 on my left eye. I'm your host, Lefty. It's very good to be here tonight. Very warm welcome to you. Solidari-tea. Or Solidari speckled hen. Whatever you're drinking, whatever your tipple is tonight, a very warm welcome to you this evening. Hope you're having a good one. Hope you've had a good week as we come into the weekend. Divinia, welcome to the chat. Heddy, Octo, Floor Snake, there on the speckled hen as well. Great to see you all this evening. Let's do this thing. So yeah, I'll go through what's coming up after a quick reminder just to hit the thumbs up button and help the stream reach more people. If you're not subscribed, please do hit that button. You can join others in the chat as well. It's great to see our community growing week on week, and whether you're a long-term viewer or a first-time viewer, we've had some new subscribers recently. You're very welcome here as well. So yeah, coming up tonight we've got the latest on these convictions, clips and videos, clips of videos I should say, articles etc. to go through, the latest from Gaza. David Lammy's also been over to Israel, apparently to take part in ceasefire talks, but I think there could be more to meet the eye than at first appears. Plus more as well. Which includes the latest Trump word salad and lack of counting ability, shall we say, with regards to employment in America. Going to be touching on climate stuff as well. Yeah, I've just about got things lined up. I'm going to start with a big thank you, as always, to the members. And speaking of which, I see another member here in the chat, Becca. Welcome back. Great to see you. A very warm welcome to you, Becca, and all of the other members in the chat. Shout out, as always, to everybody whose name is on the screen. You can join that list of fantastic people in Solidari-tea for just 99p. Yeah, there's some great perks to enjoy if you want to join the channel and support in that way. Once again, massive thanks to people who've recently bought memberships for other viewers. And it's great to meet more people and chat with you in the chat here on the Brews at 10 live streams and the Sunday live streams. Thanks a lot for your recent comments as well on the videos. I know I'm a bit overdue. Long play content video. But there's a lot more to come soon. Thanks for sticking with us. Right, we'll get started in a moment. I've got a comedy clip to kick off with. Okay, good to go. So this is the latest one. I don't know if it is the latest one, from Ty Hickey. I've played a couple of his vids before. Irish comedian. This little skit here concerns Palestine, which I'm going to be talking about, obviously, a bit further on into tonight's live stream here on the Brews at 10. And it's about the kind of reaction you should give to people who question how much you mention Palestine or why people are still talking about it. But if you've not seen this, do check it out. So that's Ty Hickey. Irish spelling with Ty, T-A-D-H-G. Check him out.
Brucey! You're not still marching, are you? Well, the genocide is still going on, so yeah. But then you're wasting your time, aren't you? I mean, it doesn't seem that Israel is overly concerned about a few hundred hippies in Cork shouting about enchiladas. Intifada. And what are you doing to help? Oh, I think there must be some confusion. I don't care. You don't care about unimaginably traumatized, orphaned children living in sewerage. Sorry. Yeah, what it is actually is, I don't care enough. Don't get me wrong. I definitely think Israel has gotten one or two things wrong. But that's war, isn't it? Generally speaking, good people. We do a lot of work with them actually inside, so I wouldn't want to... Would you have done business with apartheid South Africa? No. Sure, they were politically and economically isolated. That would have been pure madness. Man, there are grieving parents being handed bags of human flesh that may or may not contain bits of their loved ones so that they can approximate laying them to rest. An area half the size of the smallest county in Ireland has had something like 80,000 tons of bombs dropped on it in the last 10 months, more than the entirety of World War II. Men, women and little children are in a real-life horror movie, trying to escape annihilation every day with nowhere left to hide for almost a year. They're human beings like you. They feel pain like you. They seek love and peace and security like you. Will you fucking do something? Please? Anything? See, I think this is what turns people off. I mean, if you don't mind me saying, you're coming across a bit confrontational and, how can I say this, mental. I mean, if you just tone that down, you might get a few more people at your little parades. Toodles! Excuse me. Do you mind if I join you?
Well said, Ty. Yeah, not Tadka her, as Matt Lieb called him. Thanks for pointing that out, Floor Snake. Great stuff as always from Ty. I'll be going through, yeah, as I said, the latest in Palestine, including those West Bank attacks, and David Lammy's visit to Israel as well, in a short while. Just going to stick with domestic affairs for now. What's the background music? There it is. So yeah, the latest sentences and from the far right Farage riots. You'll see a couple of people who've come up on live streams before from footage of the riots who've been sentenced today, including the notorious looter of Lush. You remember there was, I mean, in terms of senseless looting, coming out with a tray of Greg's pasties in one case, Lush products in another, this kind of thing. What a great treasure hoard. Right. Before I go through a video of of some of the sentences handed out from Channel 4 earlier today, I just want to show you this clip. And, you know, citation needed. I'm not certain that it could be a parody, it could be a genuine interview, but you've got to check this out. Oh, I should mention as well, sorry, forgot to mention earlier, Shadid Bolson was the man at the top of the show with a clip comparing the United States of America to the British monarchy. So where was I? Yeah, this little perhaps comedy clip, perhaps it's a genuine interview, who knows, but this sort of deals with the mindset that we're dealing with these far right loons. Let's see what's happening.
I'm actually here to fight for this country. You know, these people, they're coming over, They're taking all of our jobs. Let's say I wanted to be a doctor. I couldn't be, could I?
Well, have you got a medical degree?
No. No, I didn't finish school, did I? No.
So hold a minute, Dave. Yeah. You've not got the chance to be a doctor because they're taking your jobs, even though you've not got a medical degree.
That's right. I don't stand a chance, do I?
But you didn't finish school.
No, but it's the principle of it. Let's say I wanted to be a doctor. I can't, can I?
You can't. Okay, so hold a minute, Dave. Yeah. So when did you finish school, Dave?
9th grade.
So what? Year 9.
Year 9, yeah.
So you're complaining that
9th grade? 9th grade? What the bloody hell is 9th grade? In Oh, goodness me. Goodness me. They complain about migration. They complain about, they go complete overkill and with fear-mongering about cultures, other cultures being imposed on the UK. But it certainly seems in a lot of cases that they don't mind it when it's American syntax that's coming over here. 9th grade. My God. Is this genuine? Please be genuine. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. If you've already seen this, perhaps you know if it is genuine or not. It's the first time I've come over this content provider, this TikToker. Let me know if you know. Yeah, it's an Americanism. It's an Americanism. 9th grade, year 9. So, what, that'd make him, 14 when he left school?
I left. But
so hold a minute, David. You're complaining you can't become a doctor, but you didn't even finish year 9.
No, that's right. But it doesn't matter. It's the principle of it. It doesn't matter when I finish school or like whatever. Yeah. If I wanted to be a doctor, I couldn't.
Okay, so
you know why?
Why?
Because they've all got the jobs as a doctors. Every bloody one of them.
It's got... God. Oh. No. No. They don't hand out, doctorates like sweets. You couldn't become a doctor, Dave, is it because you left school when you were 14, and I'm then assuming you didn't go on to college to study perhaps biology or other subjects that would help you on the career path towards becoming a doctor, and then hopefully after your A-levels you could apply for university and study for many more years to become a doctor. There's more.
So some of them are lawyers and Deliveroo people.
Okay, so you wouldn't consider being a Deliveroo driver or a taxi driver?
I mean, I do hope it's could be satire, but the way that the interviewer keeps looking into the camera like get a load of this guy kind of look, I'm not sure, because if it is a parody, then that's a bit too obviously over the top. This is a funny bit coming up here. Hang on.
Right then.
Okay. What do I want to do that for?
Cool. So, what does this represent? You've got your flag all over your face, mate. You look like you're wearing a hijab now.
No, there was a cut in there. There was an edit, a cut or something in there. So I don't know. Would you really say that to? I mean, come on.
This, you know what this represents? This here is the cross of St George. This is.
Everyone, this is St George's Cross, apparently.
It's the Union flag. Yeah, it's integrated from. Oh God. Oh God.
is St George's Cross, and you know what St George's Cross means to people like me?
I don't know, a guy from Turkey who died in Palestine. Isn't that what it means to you?
No, what?
Well, St George, he fought a dragon to save this country.
He fought a dragon. He fought a dragon to save this country. He fought a dragon. A real one, like in House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones or Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. Fictional lore you prefer. But we used to have them. They used to be a thing. Dragons. We used to have them here in the UK. Some of them guard mountains full of gold and can talk. Oh, need a boost of Solidari-tea. 1 second. He fought the dragon and he slayed it. He slayed it with flags. None of this sword nonsense. This is just propaganda that's been passed down through the years. It was actually with flags. He killed it with flags. And carling lager. So that Union flag, which it actually is the cross of St George, which it isn't, and that represents that once upon a time a fictional person killed a dragon.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, Dan read it in a Sun, I did. Eddie, your parrot is smarter than this guy. I would certainly say so. Parrots are very intelligent birds, of course, and very good mimics. And I'm certain that you could probably train your parrot to identify the difference between the cross of St George and the Union flag, at least, you know. Wow.
They don't teach that in schools nowadays, do they?
All right, Dave, just because you feel like we're taking all your jobs, I've got you a gift, okay?
Oh, what's that?
This is a hat.
Oh, a hat.
It's a hat you can put on your head.
Oh, nice.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Are they kidding? I don't know. I'll try and investigate that if I can. Check out the uploader. Just wanted to share that with you, good people, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, here on My Left Eye. Brews at 10 this evening. Okay, I do have a clip lined up, just bear with me, I've got to put it into the broadcasting software. I'll just be one moment. Oh, do you remember this this douche? The lush looter was handed a sentence today. John Honey, that was in Hull, where he looted a Lush store. You might remember I used a meme, the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire meme, a few streams or so back. That's him on the left. Another person convicted today, David Wilkinson, who's very coherent, or was very coherent and alert as he was booked at the station and pictured, as you can see on the right. Sober as a judge, sober as a priest on Sunday. Just have a quick look at some of the exploits there. I've got a video queued up, like I said, from Channel 4. We'll go into that in a sec. This is just a few of the things he got up to in Hull. I mean, he stands out quite a bit there with the actual St. George flag on his shirt, and then that's him there in the Lush. He's also he's a master of disguise as well. You know, cat burglar. He sticks out like a sore thumb. What an idiot. Alright, let's check out this Channel 4 vid. Just gonna have to
remember this?
Make a few adjustments to bear with.
Or this? All the people.
Okay, good to go. This is from Channel 4. Goes through a few of the cases. I'll throw in my 2 cents here and there. I'll try not to interrupt too much. But there are some, you know, real disgusting examples of what happened in the riots here. And again, while the sentences are going up, at least they're getting a little bit closer to those received by climate protesters recently, eh? What a world.
Remember this? Or this? All the people in the clips you've just seen have now been convicted and sentenced to time in prison. But what exactly were their crimes? And is there even room for them in our prisons? The riots that followed the fatal stabbing of 3 young girls in Southport have now seen hundreds of people charged by the Crown Prosecution Service and several of them convicted. The youngest to be convicted so far is just 12 years old. The oldest, 69. Most of the convictions have been for violent disorder. With the help of a barrister, we'll explain exactly what that means, what has led to some of these convictions, including people who have been jailed for social media posts. And we'll ask, where will the rioters go when we see weekly headlines that our prisons are already full?
Judges have been told to delay the sentencing of criminals.
Our prisons are full.
Prisons in England and Wales are full. There have been dozens.
Well, full of climate protesters. You know, look at that list of places. Liverpool, Bolton, where I went up to the other week. Check that out if you've not seen the footage of that. Manchester. Hartlepool, Leeds. It goes on. You can see for yourself there. So many places. I think there's been over 1,000 arrests now. But despite these convictions, I don't think that the getting, the people at the top of the chain who start all this hit, and I'm talking about the likes of Farage, I'm talking about the likes of Stephen Yaxley-Lennon and Richard Tice. But let's just go through the clip.
Of riots across England and Northern Ireland. There's now been over 1,000 arrests and over 400 people have been charged. So let's have a closer look at some of the people charged. Firstly, Cole Stewart, aged 18, in Darlington.
St Augustine's Way in Gladstone Street was a male with a body warmer, grey body warmer, blue head overall, blue shorts, white socks, black trainers. He is a suspect who we're looking to arrest. Can you get a hold of him on camera?
Well, he was charged, I believe, with and pleaded guilty to violent disorder. And what violent disorder effectively is that 3 or more people use or threaten unlawful violence in such a way that it would cause somebody else at the scene to fear for their own personal safety. So you can see him at the time, and he's the main instigator in that particular clip. But in the wider incident, there must be 3 or more people. And the use or the threat of unlawful violence, well, he's clearly used unlawful violence by throwing those objects. A charging decision within the Crown Prosecution Service, and I should say that I have nothing to do with the charging decision in any of these particular cases, so I can't really second guess. But in relation to violent disorder, it's clear that those elements are made out in the footage.
Why is this violent disorder and not rioting? Because we often talk about riots, don't we?
In violent disorder, obviously you need 3 or more people involved in it. For riot, you need 12 or more people involved. Then you have the complicating factor that for riot, you have that extra element of a common purpose, almost a common understanding, which you don't have as an element that needs to be.
What about a mob? What legally counts as a mob? The difference between disorder and a riot there, determined by a number. That seems a bit spurious to me, the word involved. Yeah, I was being sarcastic there with the thing about the mob. What about a squabble? That's 2 to 6 people as a squabble. I don't know.
Proven for violent disorder.
Let's move on then to Hull. John Honey, aged 25. He pleaded guilty to 3 counts of burglary, violent disorder, criminal damage and racially aggravated damage to a BMW.
So this is the guy again, but look at this. You might have seen clips of this before. There's actually occupants in that vehicle. There are people in the car, and this mob of far-right arseholes start to attack the car under the impression that they're from Asia. They're actually from East Europe, and you can see them there on the left of your screen pulling the car door open so that someone else can go in and try to pull the occupants out. They later somehow managed to get out and flee away from this group of racist thugs. Fortunately, unscathed. But look at this. Look, can you imagine being in this vehicle while this is going on with Lush Boy here on the left? What a prick.
As we can see here.
They're attacking that car. There were individuals within that car of a different ethnic group, so the criminal damage is made out. In order for the racially aggravated aspect, it either has to be motivated towards hostility to an ethnic group, ethnic or racial group.
Let's take a look then at Stacey Vint, 34 years old, in Middlesbrough.
Yeah, this was, I mean, again, probably intoxicated. Don't know if you noticed what happened there. You might have come across this particular clip before, but she was trying to throw a bin that was on fire at the cops. Completely went arse over tit on the floor, dropped the bin, and then slid along the floor. It was somewhat unsuccessful from her point of view, shall we say. But just shows you the kind of people you're dealing with in these far-right riots. The Farage riots.
Take a look then at Stacey Vint, 34 years old, in Middlesbrough.
Get on!
It wasn't just this incident with the bin. Stacey was also charged with possession of a Class B substance.
She's effectively, it appears to me, attacking the police with that flaming wheelie bin. She was trying to push it right into the police, but just beforehand, unfortunately for her, fell on the floor and slid along the floor.
Let's turn to social media. Tyler K, 26. He pleaded guilty to publishing material intending to stir up racial hatred. This is Tyler K's post. Why is that a crime?
So he is specifically saying there that in relation to people of another nationality, ethnicity or citizenship, that effectively that while they're in hotels, they should be set on fire, and then even acknowledges there that that may well be racist.
Tyler K has also shared this post about a particular target. Why was that considered criminal?
This appears to be advertising a particular time and place for people to turn up to commit criminality.
Is it easier for police and investigators to find the evidence and the culprits of online crimes as opposed to those rioting with their faces covered and so on?
Well, it would depend, because on a number of social platforms people have anonymous accounts and pseudonyms, and that can make it extremely difficult if somebody's not identifying who these people are.
So, we now know what these rioters have been sentenced for and why. But is there room for them in a prison system that's already stretched to the limit? The government has announced that...
Well, you could free up 26 spaces at least if you released climate protesters, well, Just Stop Oil climate protesters specifically, including the Whole Truth 5, who were given 4 and 5 year sentences. Just an example.
500 prison places will be opened in the next month to alleviate the prison capacity crisis. In addition, last year, the former Conservative government launched a scheme to release some prisoners early to battle overcrowding in jails. One of the new Labour government's first actions was to expand the scheme so some prisoners could be released after serving 40% of their sentence. So, will some of these rioters, now being jailed, be included in the early release scheme? Well, it depends on the type and the seriousness of the crime committed. People sentenced to less than 4 years could be part of the scheme, which could include some of the rioters.
I think those who would characterise this as a one-in, one-out strategy, I think that's wrong. What we have is a more systematic approach to freeing up capacity in the prison system. It's quite an extensive scheme and was done in as an emergency measure.
Yeah, you're right there in the chat, Octo. Just let out, you know, some of the rapist police, for example, and the misogyny and racist culture that we've heard so many examples about in the London Met, the awful piece of crap who Sarah Everard was victim to comes to mind as one example. Awful tragedies. Let's just get on through the video. Sorry to rush through, still got quite a few topics to get through.
Earlier this summer, before the riots, in response to basically the prisons filling up, offenders who have committed violence against women and very serious cases that result in long prison sentence won't be eligible for early release. So we're talking about the more minor offenders.
The courts are also under enormous pressure here, aren't they? Are the courts having to free up space to deal with these new cases?
The pressure on the courts is extreme at the moment. We have been seeing growing backlogs in both the magistrates' courts, nearly 380,000 in the backlog, and in the Crown courts, and there's nearly 70,000 cases in the backlog. The criminal justice system has been mobilised to effectively carry out swift justice in the past. It certainly happened in the aftermath of the 2011 riots. What's different in 2024 is that the criminal justice system, the courts and the prisons have less capacity and they have less flexibility. But in terms
Yeah, I just noticed, Vicky, welcome to the chat. You questioned there about the Whole Truth 5. So in a lot of examples, and this is the thing with sentencing, you might remember Morgan Trowland and Marcus Decker, who scaled the QE2 bridge. They were sentenced to 2 years, 8 months and 3 years, respectively. They ended up serving about 50% of their sentences, and that's happened in a lot of cases with JSO and other climate protesters as well. So we'll see how this new sort of scheme works out, this 4 years plus thing. But that's the way it generally goes. I don't know if that'll apply to these cases. These are completely different charges, of course, completely different circumstances. These aren't legitimate protests. These are riots. These are far right racist thugs here. There's no similarity or comparability at all in terms of their action, and therefore in terms of charges and sentencing, etc. That remains to be seen what will happen for how soon the people who've been sentenced recently will get out. We'll have to wait and see.
So the question, does it deter? Well, I think it does. I think that we've seen a marked reduction in public disorder from the beginnings of this crisis.
So here's what we know. The arrests keep growing, and some are already in jail for offences committed on the streets and online. In the short term, it seems to have deterred more disorder. But here's what we don't know. Could there be more serious arrests to come? Will some of the high-profile online figures accused of stoking tensions find themselves in trouble? And how lasting will the deterrence effect of swift justice be? Or have these riots exposed a level of racism and violence in some of our communities that isn't going away?
Well, that is, of course, the pertinent question, as he mentioned at the end. And yes, we've seen this fantastic rise of counter-protesters who, at the moment, have managed to stem this tide of violence. But it was pointed out in a panel discussion on Good Morning Britain, which I can't bring you on the stream because I've had copyright slaps on the wrist for using their content before, unfortunately. So I'm not going to use it on today's stream, but the discussion was all about the people right at the top, like I was saying, the likes of Nigel Farage, you so-called Tommy Robinsons, Stephen Yaxley-Lennon, who's living it up on holiday still, you know, on Israel lobbyists' money. These are the people that you need to get to. Otherwise, if they're allowed to continue, then in a short amount of time, we could see the same thing happening again, and it'll just be different people. The real instigators have got to be dealt with in this case. And a lot of them have been stirring this up for years. And the mainstream media are culpable as well. We talked recently about Daily Mail headlines, etc. The likes of the Sunday Express, the Murdoch press, who are culpable of stirring up xenophobic hate as much as these online influencers. Oh, and just while we're on that topic, I'll bring the might as well bring up the old meme for this one. If I can find it. Goodness me, got so much. Ofcom have recently decided that they've got no problem with Farage continuing to appear on GB News. And before the last election, of course, we had Jacob Rees-Mogg on there, another elected MP. Now, if Farage receives his salary as MP for Clacton, which I'm sure he'll barely go to or hold MP surgeries, etc., which is probably less than he's getting from GB News, who do you think he's really going to want to represent? But that's not the point. A sitting member of Parliament shouldn't be allowed to host a news show, and they try to say that they're a discussion show and not a news show, but they've got the word news in the title of the goddamn shit heap that is GB News. GBBs. That's just one of the, you know, latest unbelievable things about the mainstream media. And how it's intertwined, I should say, with political syntax, propaganda even, to a certain extent. Incredible.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Okay, just take the screen off 1 sec. So let's go over and see what Jeff Goldblum thinks about that decision from Ofcom. Over to you, Jeff.
That is one big pile of shit.
Thanks once again there. The social media platform owners as well have a level of culpability in this. Zuckerberg's, Elon Musk as well, etc. I saw a really good tweet earlier just to sort of show how easy it is to get disinformation out onto the internet. It said something along the lines of Elon Musk, dead at 52, still denies misinformation being spread on Twitter or something like that. I don't have time to pull it up, but I'll try and keep an eye out for it, and if I find it, I'll show you on the next stream. But that's where all this began, and now people have been sentenced for it, as we saw. Right, let's move on. Over to issues in Palestine now. And I'll kick off with this report from Channel 4 News. They seem aghast at what's happening in the West Bank, what happened yesterday evening in the West Bank, where occupants started to harass locals as the IDF looked on and did nothing. Essentially, you'll see from two sort of contrasting reports here, one from Sky, as I said, and then another from Al Jazeera news network as well. But just through this clip, notice how there's a lack of the word occupiers, or, you know, acknowledging that Israel is occupying the West Bank illegally, as well, should point out.
And then there's the violence, as you referenced, in the West Bank, which has been increasing really over a few years. But certainly since October the 7th, a very nasty incident last night in the village of Jit, which is in the northern West Bank. More than 100 Israeli settlers going in and really rampaging through the village, setting cars alight, homes alight. We understand with some with their family still inside them. One Palestinian man shot dead as well. Huge condemnation coming from all around the world. The White House very critical of what happened. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu released a statement as well, saying that he condemned what was happening. But there's an IDF base just around the corner from this village, and so a lot of people asking why.
But if you're not sure yet, Mr. I'm not sure who this journalist is, but if you've not cottoned on yet, Benjamin Netanyahu is completely full of shit. Just to remind you there. And he said at the very start of the clip, you might have noticed, this has been going on for a few years or so now, but even more since October the 7th. Just to brush over, a decades-long occupation. It's like, there's been this thing going on, whatever. But now today, and we don't know why this is happening, but it's all cool because, Benjamin Netanyahu's put out this press statement. And we know that, there's no examples throughout history of him not telling the truth before. Well, look, come on, a lot of crap.
Was a lack of intelligence to suggest that this attack was coming, and then why it wasn't stopped sooner than it was. And so there'll be a lot of pressure now on the Israeli authorities to investigate this, to make arrests where they can and convictions, because all too often when settler violence happens against Palestinians, there are not any convictions, and that helps embolden people looking to carry out these attacks.
Yeah, of course. Well, you're right, Davinia. Yeah, the West did contribute towards this. You have the Balfour Report, etc. At the end of Second World War. You find Western powers poring over maps, deciding how to divvy up the Middle East, and thus the creation of Israel became so, and immediately Israeli occupants began to attack the Palestinian neighbours and eke further into their territory, and that's been going on since the late 40s, as we said. And you're right, Octo, they've been trained to use the correct certain words and phrases. The syntax is very important, things to look out for. words that they omit are also very important. As per this case, it should be there, shining in neon lights behind him. There were occupiers or occupation, and he's just not turning round. He doesn't want to know. He's got the blinkers on. But let's see some more accurate reporting from Al Jazeera News Network, as I said, just to show you the two contrasting styles.
Is not the only attack or the only village that was subjected to Israeli attacks. But let me tell you what happened here last night. Settlers came through this road. They attacked several homes, including this one, which belongs to Dr. Brahim As-Siddi. They broke into the house. They tried to start 2 fires in the house, and they burnt those 2 cars. There were several dozen Israeli settlers, all armed, according to the residents, and accompanied close by Israeli soldiers as usual. This is the trend of how Israeli settler attacks happen. When the residents tried to fend off the settlers who were setting homes on fire.
Also, there you go. There wasn't just a base around the corner. They actually accompanied this violence. They were there in person. Was it Eric Lang who tweeted the Elon Musk thing, Vicky? Thanks for that. I'll just, one sec. I'll quickly check that out. Do I have them on Twitter? Looking very quickly. So I was just going to point out, you know, that more accurate reporting, and she's down there on the street where it actually happened. It was pretty uncertain geographically exactly where the Sky News reporter was reporting from. But there you go. I'll carry on through the rest of this clip while I try and find this Eric Lang tweet.
Fire, pouring accelerants inside the homes. They were shot at. One person, Rashid As-Siddi, was killed, 23-year-old. His body will be laid to rest later today after undergoing autopsy to verify and complete the investigation into his murder. This village of 3,500 people has been attacked 4 times since October. Over 1,000 Israeli settler attacks have been documented since October. It is a skyrocketing increase in comparison with other years. And residents here and across the occupied West Bank point not just to the impunity, but the complicity of the Israeli government. These settlers have had weapons, tens of thousands of weapons, handed out to them over the past months, and they feel emboldened, according to the residents, to carry out these attacks, knowing no one will be held accountable. It's not the
Also, that what's, you know, that seems to be what another thing that the Sky News reporter failed to miss or chose not to omit, whichever one it is, it wasn't included in the report. So the IDF go around handing out weapons to violent settlers. Shameful. And it's not hard to imagine that Sky News perhaps has a bigger budget, you know, than Al Jazeera. But they seem to be unable to find and point out those simple facts. Okay, just bear with me. I've managed to locate this. That was it. That was it. Just backtrack slightly. I'll have to bring this up on the screen. Elon Musk, dead at 52, says there's no need for misinformation laws. This is, of course, a parody. Billionaire Elon Musk, found dead in his home last night, says it's not the role of social media networks to determine what is true or not. Brilliant, brilliant. Thanks a lot for letting me know where I could find that as well, Vicky. Elon Musk, what a douche. What a douche. Oh, where'd the background music go? Sorry about that. So those were the two conflicting news reports. Just want to show you this that came up on, speaking of Musk, douchebag Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter, of course, and I will die on this hill. Never X, always Twitter. Why am I still using it? I think eventually I'll have to give up the ghost with it, and hopefully it can be reformed. I'm not sure. It's a bit of a dumpster fire at the moment, as we've seen. Speaking of which, just quickly, apparently 84% of his revenue from advertisers has been lost. They might have to sell some stock from Tesla to cover up the losses, but that's a whole other matter entirely. Just let's stick with the situation in Palestine at the moment before we get too distracted. We don't want to do that. So I don't know if you saw this going around your Twitter. This is two what appear to be American or perhaps Canadian tourists who came to visit, and they went to the O2 Arena. One of them has a pro-Palestine t-shirt on that says Free Gaza, and they're not let into the arena. One of the couple purchased the tickets 2 years ago to go and visit. I'm not sure if they were there to watch a concert or who was going to be performing. But to buy your tickets 2 years in advance, it's obviously, and they've come across from the States, shows that they're obviously really keen to go and see whoever it is, but then they are stopped by security who say that they're not allowed to go in, and then it just becomes like Jobsworth City. For example, they don't say that it's okay for him to go in if he just turns the t-shirt inside out. Then there's disputes over whether they'll get a refund. They're saying he can't turn his t-shirt inside out in case he just turns it the right way around once they get inside. And then a lot of crap about changing the t-shirt, being provided a t-shirt, but whether the retailers nearby are connected with the O2 Arena itself or not, you just have to see it to believe it. So this is what went down at the O2 Arena. Let's see what's happening.
There's all this kerfuffle happening because of this t-shirt in the O2, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
We've been pulled aside and we're not being allowed in.
Okay, so do you have any way you can get an t-shirt to change if you find out you have that t-shirt?
Although this is the wrong way,
yeah, so you need to change it to help allow you.
You can't let us into the venue because of a t-shirt.
I've just spoken to the venue. We're going by the policy we're being advised. So if you can change it, that'd be great. But we can't allow you into the venue with us.
Okay.
I mean, you can turn it inside out, I guess.
Yeah. We won't be allowed to allow that.
There's nothing offensive on that t-shirt. There's nothing graphic in terms of depiction, the picture, the language. It just says Free Gaza, and there is a flock of birds above the lettering, and that is it. That is it. And there's but we've had this thing come over the radio about not advising yada yada yada. Let's just play through.
What?
The t-shirt will need to stay with us if you're going to change it.
Right, okay.
That's So do we get a refund on our tickets, or?
You would need to go back to your point of sale.
What did you purchase for it?
I don't know. Access?
Yeah, so I can get you the email address for access, our customer service.
This is crazy. Like you can't even turn it inside out and wear it backwards.
I'm not saying that here, but it wouldn't stop him reversing it back once he's inside. So then it'll be pointless having the conversation.
That's crazy. I'm filming all this, and this is going to go public.
I can tell you.
Like the O2 is. This is crazy. You're going to have massive boycotts.
We're
you know,
non-political venue. That's the. It's the stance of the venue take. We're not a political venue. Everyone's a neutral.
Not a political venue. What you think that the people who come there and paid probably hand over fist for the tickets, for your rip-off tickets and merch and whatever other crap you rip people off for in the, you know, capitalist enorm or dome, whatever it's frigging called. Suddenly, do you think that as soon as they walk in, it's, you know, like magic and everybody's political beliefs just suddenly vanish? What are you talking about? Not political. And this is the thing with politics, and if you're politically minded, a lot of people say that they're not interested in politics, but politics covers everything. It's life, it's rights, it's so much of what happens to us day to day that whether you say you like politics or not, politics certainly affects you, whether you have a you know, academic or intellectual interest in it whatsoever. To expect people to come to your venue who can't express, you know, themselves with whatever slogan on the t-shirt, as long as that's, you know, non-graphic, non-violent, there's no problem in that. Would it be okay for them to walk around, you know, with a t-shirt that said Coca-Cola on it or something like that? It's fine to walk around and be a human billboard, you know, promoting a company that's worth billions for free, but not to say something that promotes peace and calls for the freedom of 2 million people. It says free. There's a positive message there. It's about peace and freedom. Bullshit. What a job's worth.
I could ask for a security manager to come and talk to you.
I mean, I think you should offer us a different option to get in. I mean, we've paid good. I bought these tickets 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, guys.
I understand that, madam.
And it was his birthday present.
We don't have anything we can offer you in t-shirt wise. There is merchandise. There is shops in the outlet you can use, and we can't offer anything because I have asked already.
Wowza.
Wowza indeed. Unbelievable. And nice to see Odin Allfather in the chat. Welcome back. You're very right there. Not being interested in politics is akin to a drowning man, excuse me, not being interested in water. Water be upon you, whether you would like it or not. I thought it was pretty interesting that the man offered to bring a member of the security team over. Would you like to hear the same bullshit but from somebody else? I could offer you that option as a solution, madam.
That's mental.
Yeah, I don't want to miss the gig, so I'll take the t-shirt off.
Go buy a t-shirt? I mean, can you give us
you need to buy a t-shirt, sir.
Can you give us a t-shirt?
We haven't got any t-shirts.
Can you give us a 90% discount on...
We don't have nothing to do with the outside area too.
Oh my god, I am like shook.
Okay, well, let's just figure it out, yeah.
Wow. This is insane. You do realize there's a genocide going on, right? You do realize like thousands of children's body parts are spread everywhere? Like, that's why we're wearing this shit.
and she starts to obviously get a bit emotional there. Yeah, it's a serious topic. I'm very pleased and happy to see people who are passing in the street, in the city centre, wearing similar T-shirts. That's reassuring to me. And like I said, it's a positive message of peace and freedom against oppression. But that's too political for the O2 Arena. Okay? How far is this crap going to go? But moving on, fortunately, thanks a lot for your comments in the chat about this. Great to see a lot of people in the chat this evening. Don't forget to add your comments as well if you're watching back on replay. Just a quick reminder as well that super thanks are open if you're watching back as well. Please do help out the channel with that support. But even people such as James O'Brien of LBC News, who I'm sure you're familiar with, seem to be beginning to twig at the moment. Despite, and I'm no real, I used to watch a lot of stuff of his. It used to be somewhat entertaining, at least to watch him confronting Donald Trump supporters, for example. I'll be talking a bit about Trump a little bit more into the stream. But aside from that, he was very complicit in the media attacks against Jeremy Corbyn, for example. And in all honesty, if one of his guests or callers on his show would have said the very things that I'm about to show you in this clip back in 2019, he would have done his utmost to label them as an anti-Semite or a Holocaust denier. So not being a massive fan of James O'Brien, I do just at least want to show you that even he's coming round. Although, previously, we've seen LBC hosts speak against Israel and then never be heard of again on the show. They're immediately suspended and then fired. Well, let's see what happens to James O'Brien after he's made this statement recently. And again, it could just be weather vane stuff. He could just be aware that public opinion is, of course, vastly in support of Palestine, vastly in support of a ceasefire in Gaza, and that's why he's doing it. Whereas before he was backing the wrong horse, shall we say. But he certainly has changed his tune from just a few years ago.
An absolute abomination, but compounded by public support for the culprits. And if you cast your mind back to October of last year, when it was almost a capital offence to point out that the Palestinian people in Gaza had legitimate grievances about their historical treatment.
Well, it was for the likes of you. It was for the likes of you. But supporters of Palestine have been speaking the truth for years, for decades, in fact. And you think this is all just sort of turned on the head of a nail now? Since October 7th. Cast your minds back to October the 7th, he says. Well, how about cast your mind back to the 2019 election when you were trashing Corbyn and Labour under Corbyn in general daily on your show? And as soon as anyone showed any kind of criticism for Israel whatsoever, you joined in the pile-on with the AS bullshit, James. I'm afraid this is far too little, far too late.
Without even flirting with the notion of defending or condoning in any way the barbarism of the terrorists on that day. Nobody who takes money on a monthly basis to comment upon current affairs has, to the best of my knowledge, publicly revoked their support for Israel, publicly acknowledged that things have now gone to a point that they cannot credit and cannot even begin to condone. They have all gone silent. And I don't understand why, because look, let me show you how easy it is. This is barbarism. This is behavior so disgusting, so despicable, that just when you think you might have got your head around it, along come protesters demanding the release of the culprits.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Well, well, well. Even James O'Brien himself, without, again, doesn't necessarily mean he's won his favour back with me, that's for sure. Good point in the chat, Andy Carter. Great to see you. He did, of course, write a book called, was it How to Be Right About Everything or How to Win Any Argument? He might have written more than one book, I'm not sure. But just follow the focus groups. Seems to be his main modus operandi, as it were. And yeah, despite apparent public press releases from the likes of the USA condemning these recent West Bank attacks and other times that they've that Israel have attacked Palestine, particularly in Khan Yunis recently. Despite that, the US continue to give a large amount of military and financial support to the occupation. But one recent uploader, Kelly Burgess, is pretty nonplussed by that fact. So let's hear from someone in the States what they think about their tax dollars going towards this collective punishment.
I just want to give a deep, sincere thank you to Israel for taking another $20 billion off of our plates because, clearly we had no better use for it at all. Certainly not children, education, women, the environment, our economy. No. Please, we needed somebody to come and just take those $20 billion off of our plates and, of course, put it to great use by funding a genocide. So thank you. I hope we have another $20 billion soon so we can just hand it right over.
Yeah, the numbers are staggering, the tens of billions. Israel as a country is really starting to struggle now. Did you know that it gets about 90% of its coal? Israel is massive on fossil fuels as a company. Gets 90% of its coal from Colombia, who recently not only recognised Palestine as a state, but imposed real economic sanctions by saying that they're not going to trade that commodity with them while the occupation goes on. And that's something that's really been lacking here in the UK as well. As we saw David Lammy going over to Israel, despite what he might say to the media. There he is meeting Gats, who, yeah, they're all pals there. Let's have a laugh and a laugh and a hug there. Yeah, you've just been identified by the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court as guilty of suicide, but let's have a good laugh together. So the intended appearance of, oh yeah, that's no, is that how you shake? Oh my, well, we fucked it up. God damn it, let's just look at that last part again. Goodness me. They don't know how to line up and shake hands. So then there's this. What is this? Look at that. Just, no, that's, God. So no, you're not going to take my right hand with your right hand. You're going to grab my left hand with yours, and then I'm going to grab this. This is, yeah, this is a new thing now. Did you? Oh my God. So, he'd like us to think, David Lammy would like us to think that he's over there to get into ceasefire talks. But point number one, David, you're there in Jerusalem. Sorry to tell you, David, but the actual ceasefire talks are taking place in Qatar, in Doha. You're in the wrong country for the ceasefire talks. But given the fact that when he left, the Israeli representatives said they were glad to have him over to reinforce his support for Israel, I think we all know the real reason for David Lammy's visit. Not just to try and associate himself with the ceasefire talks, but to reinforce the deals, to reassure the people who are paying him quite a lot of money to represent them vis-a-vis the lobbyists. Night, Vicky. We'll see you soon. Thanks a lot for joining us on the Brews at 10. Hopefully, we'll see you on the Sunday live stream. Take care. So that's what Lammy's really doing there. And we're not imposing any sanctions on Israel. We're continuing to provide weapons. There's no proper embargoes that are happening, you know. Need to boycott, defund and sanction these awful, awful people. Octo, thanks a lot for that gifted membership. Great show of solidarity. I'll raise a cup of solidarity to that. Thanks a lot. Hev, welcome to membership on the channel. Hope you enjoy the perks. Do check out some of the exclusive content. More of that to come, of course. Thanks a lot, Octo. And of course, Hev, your name will be added to the members scroll in future videos. And live streams as well. Okay, so we saw that that clip from Kerry Burgess there from America, what they think about their role in all of this. But while we're on the subject of America, this is the latest word salad from Trump, who apparently can't count, or at least he can't read stats. Notoriously, he obviously famous, not just notorious, he's massively famous for making these onstage gaffes when he's at rallies. You know, and this is the latest of them. And it concerns jobs and immigration. So according to Trump, you'll say, well, I'll tell you what, I won't give any spoilers. Let's just play the clip. And then I'll go over it.
Virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants. You know that? Most of the job creation has gone to migrants. In fact, I've heard that substantially more than beyond the number of 100%. It's a much higher number than that, but the government hasn't caught up with that yet. But virtually right now, as of the time they did this, virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants.
Did you get that? Let's see that again. Let's see that again.
virtually 100% of the net job creation in the last year has gone to migrants, you know?
Virtually 100% of all of the jobs created in an entire year in the United States of America has gone to migrants, has it? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then it gets worse. And then it gets worse.
That most of the job creation has gone to migrants. In fact, I've heard that substantially more than beyond the number of 100%.
It's beyond 100%. It's more than 100% of all of the jobs created. And they all went to migrants. They want your jobs. They're taking our jobs. They want your jobs so much that they'll even take more jobs than were created. I mean, that's an astounding amount of desire for Americans' jobs. Donald Trump will have you believe. Over 100%. Welcome back, Davinia. Oh my goodness me.
Much higher number than that, but
this guy,
the government hasn't caught up with that yet. But virtually right now, as of the time,
they've not caught up with it. Yeah. Well, even if they caught up with it, what's that supposed to mean anyway? Caught up with it? How can you catch up with more than 100% of the jobs? Oh dear me. How's his ear looking, by the way? He's lost the bandage now, hasn't he? Seems to be intact. Strangely, bizarrely. All right, just wanted to throw that one your way. Let's go on to other matters now. All right, next topic. We're going to talk about hunting. And this is a video from Chris Packham. Now, apparently these, this human detritus that go out on horseback and hunt foxes, etc., are attempting to label themselves as a vulnerable minority group, the same way that members of the LGBTQ+ community might do, for example. And the actual barefaced cheek of it all even stultifies Chris Packham, as it does myself. So let's have a look at his vid. Packham's featured on live streams and stuff before. You might remember I went down for the Restore Nature Now demo, and prior to that done other stuff with Packham through my support of JSO. But this is what he had to say about this. How do you describe it? This recent claim, I guess.
Hello. Now, it may have escaped your notice. If it has, then please take a look at the post that follows this one from GMB this morning. You couldn't make it up, but a faction of the fox hunting fraternity are currently taking legal advice so that they may be able to attain minority ethnic group status under the Equalities Act of 2010. That would put them in the same category as the Roma people, the LGBTQ+ communities. I mean, frankly, well, I've contacted my lawyers this morning and asked them to investigate the reality of this, and rest assured that if there is any slim potential that this might be a reality, then I will be fighting it very hard indeed. Not only because of the impact that that might have when it comes to addressing the vile and barbaric practice of fox hunting, which we hope will be shut down in the very near future, but also because it's an outright insult and a travesty to even conceive of this idea for all of those genuine minority ethnic groups. Hello.
He's, yeah, like I said, lost for words there at the end. And rightly so. I mean, hopefully this request will be denied. Just his expression there at the end, he really can't believe it. Really can't believe it. They're not an ethnic minority group. They're a bunch of people who like barbaric, outdated practices that should be ridden out. And when fox hunting bans and other legislation has come in before, it hasn't been policed anywhere nearly as much as it should have done, and this sort of stuff was essentially allowed to continue. You can see the Packham's wearing a t-shirt from the North Dorset Hunt Saboteurs as well. There are still groups of protesters who get out there and they put themselves on the front lines with this and end up in some very confrontational situations, as you can imagine, quite often. But they're the only line between the barbarity and the police have got to do more. But they've surely got to be denied this appeal. Dolores, welcome to the chat as well. So as I said, yeah, Packham's obviously a supporter of JSO. Check out his documentary about that as well. But just whilst we're on that subject, as I get towards the end of the stream, I want to end on something a bit more positive from something I've brought up previously on the channel. Yeah, so this is a tweet from a friend of mine, Rangzen, who's a JSO supporter as well. We've been on a bit of stuff together in the past as well. So shout out to Rangzen. You might remember I brought up the case of Trudy Warner previously. So for those of you who aren't familiar, I'll just quickly explain about that. Trudy was outside of, I believe it was Southwark Crown Court, to support a climate protester who was on trial. And she's outside the court. There were other people there as well, of course. She was holding up a sign. And what was written on her sign is actually written on an old wooden plaque in the Old Bailey. As you're going up to the top of a set of stairs, you'll see a wooden plaque which says jurors have the right to acquit based on their conscience, which is of course entirely true. That's what was written on Trudy's sign. But on that day, where she was there to do court support for the defendants, she was arrested. She was arrested for holding up a sign, and these this is one of many indications, you know, about the dystopian legislation that's currently happening here in the UK, which is unbelievable. And the Attorney General actually put in, you know, an appeal specifically. She was specifically sort of targeted, victimised, as it were. But now, after much public support and outrage for Trudy, and I'm sure that I'm almost positive that Chris Packham, for example, has brought this up in speeches and things that he's said before as well about how outrageous this was. It's been dropped, so that's Trudy on the left, that's Rangzen on the right as well. Hopefully I'll be seeing him out on the streets sometime soon, either at a march or whatnot. But if you're listening to the live stream tonight, hope you're very well, and hope to see you soon. Hope to see Trudy soon as well, both wonderful people. So that's a bit of good news, at least. You might also remember recently I showed footage of the JSO action at Heathrow Airport, where Phoebe Plummer, infamous soup thrower Phoebe Plummer, and Jane Twill were both arrested for spraying the departure boards and the concourse, and remanded. But Jane has recently been released on bail, so that's a bit of good news as well. Just wanted to point that out, because I always like to keep you up to speed with the latest about stuff concerning protest and activism here on My Left Eye as well. And of course we do fully support a livable future. Yes, so before we part ways this evening, of course, I want to give another shout out to the members on the channel, and of course we've picked a new member up this evening. Your name will of course be duly added to the list as well. Thanks again, Octo, for that gift membership. I hope you'll be back to join me on Sunday as well for the Sunday live stream. I'll just quickly check if there is anyone to raid into, so don't go anywhere, folks. Could be leading you into another stream. It's been a pleasure to be with you tonight, of course. I'll be catching up with you on Sunday night, like I said, but I hope you have a great weekend. No, at the moment, no. Doesn't look like Helena or Kevin Logan streaming at the moment. There's just another Navarra one queued up, but I'll be back on before the next stream scheduled, so I'm not gonna. There's no point in raiding you into that. You're very welcome, Divinia. You're all very welcome. Thanks a lot for sticking with us on the Brews at 10 and My Left Eye. I've been your host, Lefty. See what stories are going to pop up over the weekend to have a chat about on Sunday. So please do take care, everybody. My Left Eye, I'll be seeing you soon. Good night. Hit the buttons before you go, don't forget. Alright people, that's all from me. See ya.
You know, your democracy has actually become like the British monarchy. It's just an empty tradition. You know, you go out to vote the same way that British people will go out and line the streets just to watch the king pass by on a horse and carriage. It's just a nod to the lore and heritage of your society. It's a ritual that has no real significance beyond the psychological and the emotional. It's a collective, society-wide, self-soothing gesture. America is a corporate authoritarian system cosplaying as a democracy. But nobody in the world thinks that your democracy exists except for you. Because we know all too well what your democracy looks like when you export it to us. And you have the same one that you sent us, which means that you don't have one either. Look, you are not constituents of politicians, you're constituents of companies, and you need to organize yourselves along these lines. Democratize private sector power. At some point, your activism and your strategy has to actually be informed by the real existing power dynamics in your society, not just by the official version of the power structure that they taught you in civics class.